So the 20th anniversary patch for World of Warcraft has released today, and with this patch, there's a ton of new ways to earn gear, and more specifically, a ton of new ways to earn gear for your alts. But there's one of these new ways that seems to be incredibly strong, so strong that it may get nerfed. And this method is generally just to run the new Blackrock Depths raid, but there is a bunch of little pieces of information that may allow you to do this much more efficiently if you're specifically trying to get gear for alts. So more specifically, trying to get a bunch of WoW drops. And just to put into perspective how strong this is, doing all 3 wings of this raid on LFR on one character, so that's 8 main bosses, I was able to get 5 WoW drops and 2 normal drops. And keep in mind that WoW drops are a bonus roll on top of the normal loot you could be obtaining. And this wasn't just me getting lucky, because looking through the loot that people were getting after every one of these kills, tons of people were getting drops, and a majority of those drops were warbound until equipped. So the majority of people are just getting bonus rolls of WoW gear, and it's still only a handful of people getting actual drops from the raid. And I have done some of the bosses on both heroic and normal difficulty as well, and this seems to be true in these difficulties as well. Now, one thing that is a bit different between these is that when running the raid on LFR, there is no rolling for loot, so even the non-WoW gear you get will be a personal loot. It just won't be that bonus roll to give you WoW gear. But once you go up to normal or heroic difficulty, those will still have you rolling on gear, and then you can just get a bonus roll on top of that could be a WoW piece. Now, the most interesting part about this is what upgrade track these pieces of gear are dropping on. So the Blackrock Depths raid as a baseline follows the exact same item levels and upgrade tracks as Nerfs Palace. So if you go in the raid on LFR, you'll be getting veteran drops. If you go in on normal difficulty, you'll be getting champion drops. And if you go in on heroic, you'll be getting hero drops. And as you go throughout the raid, the items will get higher and higher item level within that upgrade track. So just a carbon copy of what happens in Nerfs Palace. But the really interesting part about this is that it seems from killing any of these 8 bosses on any difficulty will give you the same upgrade track of WoW gear, which is a veteran gear. So that's 584 up to a 606 item level when fully upgraded. So if you go into the heroic difficulty and get a WoW drop, it seems it's the same upgrade track as if you went into the LFR version and got a WoW drop, which is also quite weird because in LFR, the actual gear you're getting is veteran gear, but you're still getting the same upgrade track of a WoW gear. So not only is this going to be really strong for getting gear to send to your alts, but it's actually going to be really strong for the alts themselves, because if you go in here on, say, a new character that can just get a high enough item level to queue for LFR, you'll just be getting a ton of additional gear, because all the gear you get, no matter if it's a normal drop or a WoW drop, will be on the veteran track. But that's not all, because there's also 5 mini bosses in this raid, and these seem to work a little bit differently. Now, I can confirm that in LFR, killing one of these mini bosses can give you adventurer track gear. I was able to get a 2-handed weapon from a mini boss that was on the adventurer track, which is 571 up to 593 item level, and that was a WoW drop as well. Now, I'm not sure if everything you get from a mini boss will be a WoW drop if you get gear, or if you can also get normal gear drops. But in LFR, if they're normal gear drops, they're still on the adventurer track. But it seems once you get into normal or heroic difficulty, the gear drops from mini bosses also go up, but I'm not sure how this works between normal gear drops from the mini bosses and WoW drops from the mini bosses, specifically when going up in difficulty. So it may also be that going and doing normal or heroic versions of the raid and killing the mini bosses may also be able to give you veteran track WoW gear as well. Now, with all of that being said, if you're trying to get a bunch of WoW gear to gear up some alts, it seems like you're just going to be running Blackrock Depths on LFR on any of your characters that can do it, because you can just do LFR so quickly and you have so many chances to just get WoW gear on the veteran track, which is going to be really strong getting a new character up to level 80. Giving that new character like a full set of veteran gear will allow you to just jump into more difficult, more endgame content that you're actually wanting to do, and it allows you to skip those more annoying parts of very early gearing. Now, the developers may want this to stay the same. They may want this to be a way to gear up alts very quickly, but I also wouldn't be surprised if they nerf this, because as I mentioned, in one run of LFR, which has 8 main bosses, I got 5 woo pieces on the veteran track, and I just got 2 normal drops on the veteran track, which is an absolutely absurd amount of gear. And even in other catch-up mechanics, you usually don't get gear that quickly, especially since you can just run this on all of your different characters. And if you're getting that many drops on all of those characters, that's just an absurd amount of woo gear to send over to newly leveled up characters. So if you're somebody that's going to want to be leveling up characters during this event, because you're also going to be getting a bunch of experience buffs, and you want to be able to gear that character up very easily once they hit level 80, I would definitely recommend doing this earlier than later, because this is definitely something that I could see them nerfing just because it's giving a ridiculous amount of this gear. But that's all I want to go over, so thanks for watching.